I want to share a story that still makes the hairs on my neck stand up. A story that, until the day I heard it, I thought only circulated on the fringes of society. Whispers about black spots, strange rituals, and spiritual warfare. But this time, it happened to someone a friend of mine personally knows. And after hearing it, I no longer take those stories lightly. The friend of my friend was traveling from Nakuru to Nairobi. When she arrived at the terminus, she found a matatu in the queue with three seats still open. But it was a long journey and she wanted a more comfortable ride. So she decided to wait for the next bus and took a seat on the benches. As she sat there, something unusual happened. A woman approached the almost full matatu. She was wrapped in layers of clothing, rough looking, almost homeless. A wide bucket hat shadowed her eyes. At first, the lady assumed she was just another passenger. But then, the woman reached into her bag, old, rugged, barely holding itself together, and pulled out a Kanga and began circling the matatu, slowly, deliberately, waving the Kanga around the vehicle while chanting something the lady could not understand. The sounds did not resemble any language she recognized. It felt wrong. Thinking the woman might be mentally ill, the lady on the bench tried to ignore her. After a few moments, the strange woman rolled the Kanga neatly, slipped it back into her old bag, and walked away without making eye contact. The lady shrugged it off. Until later, she wished she hadn't. About 15 minutes later, the last passenger boarded the first matatu and it left for Nairobi. The next matatu rolled up. The lady boarded, took her preferred seat, and the vehicle filled after some time. Everything seemed normal until they reached Kemende. A heavy traffic jam had formed ahead. People began sticking their heads out of windows, trying to see what was blocking the road. From a distance, it wasn't clear, but as the line crawled forward, a knot tightened in her stomach. Something felt wrong. When her matatu finally approached the scene, her blood ran cold. The vehicle involved in the accident, the one crushed beyond recognition, the one surrounded by police, the one with bodies covered by sheets, had a detail that made her stomach twist even tighter. There were only few small spats of blood on the road, just tiny splashes, too little for such a mangled wreck. It did not make sense. With an impact like that, where was the rest? Then the horror hit her. It was the very matatu she had refused to board. Everyone inside had died instantly. She froze. Her mind couldn't process it. It felt like she was dreaming, like any second she'd blink and wake up safely in Nakuru. But it was real, terrifyingly real. Her hands started shaking, not just from the shock that she had survived by a whisker, but because her mind flashed back to the Kanga woman circling the matatu, waving the cloth, moving in that strange pattern, chanting in that terrifying, incomprehensible voice. Was it coincidence or was it something else? She did not tell anyone on her bus, not a single word. The terror and the guilt were too heavy. What would she say? Who would believe her? When she finally reached Nairobi, she kept the story to herself. For almost 3 weeks, she barely slept. Her spirit felt disturbed, as if she had witnessed something she was never meant to see. You might expect she would seek out a counselor, but something inside her knew what she saw at the bus stop was not mental illness or imagination. So, she went to a pastor. When she finished recounting the ordeal, the pastor stared at her unblinking, and then in a firm voice he said, "What you witnessed was a soul harvesting ritual." She sank back into her seat and released a sharp breath, one she didn't realize she had been holding until that moment. Finally, someone understood. Finally, someone acknowledged the unspeakable. Finally, someone confirmed what her soul already knew. This story shook me. Stories that are not personal often feel distant, almost abstract. But when it happens to someone within arm's reach, it becomes something else entirely. It took me a moment to decide to share this. Yet events like these are happening far more often than we are willing to admit. For years, I'd heard rumors about black spots, about spiritual activity around certain places, and about people using rituals for reasons they know better. But this time, it wasn't a rumor, it wasn't folklore. This was real, a real witness, a real event, and a truth most of us are not prepared to face. If there is one thing this story made clear, it is this: for we wrestle not against the flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Most of us read that verse like poetry, but every now and then, life gives you a situation that makes it real, painfully real. Because the truth is this: there are forces out there. Some we see, many we don't. And sometimes they appear in the most ordinary places, like a bus station on an ordinary afternoon. It is wise for us to put on the whole armor of God, because the moment you realize the battle is real, it is the moment you wish you had prepared for it.